So I was just finishing. I just want to hear this one. Okay, so I just finished my meeting. I have about an hour and a half until the next one, and I just wanted to do a quick video, or possibly a quick video. While I'm waiting for viewers, I think I do have something I will do within the video. Luckily, when I put it to AM, it was talking. I will do within the video that kind of goes with the second part of the. It's nice that they're moving, and it would be too hot without it, but it's easy to get to the. The second part of the caption, and then we'll kind of get right into it. Although it is actually inspiring, yet something else too. Now I've already kind of went away because she wasn't pulling out her phone, um, and that was just kind of as long as you want to use it. Um, okay, so um, when I came to the YouTube homepage to come and make this video, um, a unique video showed as a suggestion, and I don't know why. And it's interesting too. I think the name was Alex, and that kind of makes me think of, but not the ones I know. Kind of makes me think of a couple of people. Do I know the people in it? I can know them. um, I don't think I do. No, it's interesting though because that looks a little bit like Jackie from basically, and it was interesting. And of course, I'm being easily suggestible at the moment and wandering from maybe they wrote something. Um, well, groups there too, other videos such and such. Okay, so whoops. Um, and it was local, and it was a certain theme, and it was a 7 minute video. So the second song was probably the only one, but yeah, maybe it was just disbelief. Um, so before we jump into the topic, it's kind of a two-parter, and like I say, the one is again, I feel fairly largely conversational and could rely on engagement of. I don't want to get up because dogs actually being good, but I wouldn't mind to sit in water, but it's okay. They have like three on the go. My worker must have thought I was nuts. Um, and maybe sometimes I am. Um, but basically, sorry for the slow start and the distraction. Uh, I had a very interesting something happen, kind of in connection with her and somebody that she would have been familiar with, I think. But the button's wrong weird. Um, when I saw that video show up as chapstick, as I came to do this one, I immediately felt like my friend Ray was with me in spirit. And this is for me, but if it's impactful or helps you, and it's ironic, Alan and then Jacqueline, in some way, then me and Ray would be happy about that. I'm just trying to actually what I want to do is make this thing behave. Um, I'm remembering a post that that I saw connected um, to this friend that she made when she was still living, and it's what I find, but it can't be that it was like I think I liked it recently. Um, um, it was like 4 or 5 years before she passed away. This post, so and I try and be anonymous. I'm fine. I actually kind of prefer because just the way it sounds, as well. You know, I'm pretty anonymous about this, friend. So just until we get viewers and kind of jump into the other topic, I was kind of reminded of almost kind of randomly because I haven't seen it in a while. Certainly this year, I think. Probably when she passed away. But I was reminded of this friend, and she has a post. I've skimmed it. I haven't seen the latter part, but you know what? This is part of her legacy because this is an opinion and feelings that she shared on social media, and I think it kind of relates to this topic, and so I'd like to look at it first. But before I do that, it was live band um, style, that video that I saw, and I feel like she is encouraging me to keep trying to find people to do music with and perform and get out there again. And she says I'm very talented, and yes, she says I am just all about encouraging people, but she says you deserve it. You're I'm very honestly saying that you should keep trying. I know sometimes it may be a bit of a slow progress or not necessarily always pan out, but she says there's always a possibility that it might. So go for it, bud, she says. Anyway, and it's interesting since channeling her, because I hadn't talked with her for a few years. I'd forgotten, and I don't think of it the same way my step says it, but I'd forgotten that she, like the feels, or that she says bud, often, and it's kind of nice. Sorry, I'm just chilly at the moment. Anyway, reading what she says here, I think the reason a lot of people are bad people. It's interesting actually that she put it in quotations because I know what this post is about a little bit, and again, it kind of fits with the topic here. It's is not so much. Sorry, this is just there's not a lot. The pump isn't working essentially, and there's not a lot in it. But if you're ever someone that uses lotion, um, I often cut them open at some point. Not the people, not the people. The things because you can get so much more out of it than it initially appears. Anyway, when she said not that they're bad people, um, yeah, I mean basically she elaborates. So I'm just gonna and if you'd like to share a situation that you maybe it didn't get to the point of conflict, but you worry that it might. Maybe it did. Um, Whatever. I mean, one of the biggest things I feel like I want to be suggesting to people but the thing is that people sometimes don't care and they don't always see their wrongs. It's true. But one of the biggest things I wanted, uh, or they don't always realize, I want to suggest is like work on fixing things so that you can be decent amongst your fellow humans if there's ever a difficult an issue or whatever, because it's a more pleasant way to exist. I mean, I don't understand. I can understand. That we have to realize that not everybody's going to gel with everybody else, and that you know, um, we shouldn't necessarily try super hard to be liked. But at the same time, I don't think we should try to be disliked either. I don't feel like, um, people saying I don't care what people think of me. Deep down, I think they probably do a little bit. Everybody does, and also, what kind of way is that to live though? Like anyway, she says it's because of how they were treated by other bad people in their past and present, and it's affected them over the years. They act out because they were hurt so badly by these experiences. I am such a hippie. I wish everyone could treat everyone else with the utmost respect in every regard. Stop treating people badly. Learn what respect is. This is, like I say, just a post she made. I probably may have been triggered by something, I would imagine. Being bitchy or rude or heartless gets you nowhere. Although she says, yeah, you're right. I do want to stop you there. When I say being bitchy, I'm not saying, you know, keep things bottled up, don't get things off your chest, don't, and ask for guidance if you need it. But through your own struggles in life, you should understand what it's like. Don't pull everyone. Well, okay. She's like, she says, I'm glad that you're appreciating my words here at my post. And she says, but I did kind of do that thing where, maybe I was just so eager to post that I didn't look back at it. Um, but she says, what I was trying to say, but I don't pull everyone else into that, is don't make other people, don't make it somebody else's problem when it's not. Um, or and cause a negative impact on other people. It goes on to say, and somebody was very briefly there. Um, be nice, be fair. Treat others how you wish you could be treated. Wish you could be treated. That's interesting. I know this sounds so simple, but so many lose sight of this every single day. Let it sink in. We are all hurt by people, even those that seem to be the worst, it says. Like they don't care for anybody, but they do. And we briefly had a viewer there up until even those, and I got confused. But they do. Let's make it easier. Be good. Somebody commented about the cycle of abuse, or on it kind of first name. Yeah, have you been through a situation? I know you. I know any of us have been, where there is either a current potential conflict that with somebody in your life, or one that you actually have been through. Let's talk about it. Whether in the again, very briefly, somebody was there, but anyway, I'm gonna not focus on that. And the other thing too, whether you found the result, whether you've healed or found the resolve in that or not, let's talk about it. Um, whether it's a neighbor or what was the other thing. It's unfortunate that sometimes we end up having, well, maybe they are too, maybe they aren't. I mean, something so close by, yeah. But I mean, sometimes we end up getting the brunt of things, right? But I thought about that recently, and how it's kind of like, um, I don't know. I feel like Jackie may have been the other reason, but I can't for sure say. Knowing that some things are going to be out of their control, we just have to go with the flow and do what we can from our part. That is a big thing. And like I say, yeah, and like she said, try and make it a pleasant experience. You know, I mean, you can't. You're not a miracle worker. You can't fix the world. You can't make everybody do it, but you can do your part to be a good person. That's a thing, and to be aware and to be empathetic. You know, when I had a meeting, it did happen to come up this thing going on with a neighbor, and she said, "Have you kind of tried to see?" And I almost wasn't going to bring it up because I honestly felt like we maybe weren't quite on the same page. Like she wanted to be empathetic and understand, and maybe she did to some point. And I think this time either she didn't say a lot, but I do feel like I got the sense, and this was my words, that she understood a little bit more how unrealistic it was, and this was mentioned in the previous video. Um, to ask that of us, uh, not to look at her, even look at our neighbor's house is how it came across. If that's not how they meant it, then they should have said it differently. I mean, there's a watch requires eyes. Anytime your eyes there, you'd be watching something. I mean, it's like, yeah. So, but she kind of said, and I said, yeah, I mean, I knew why I was asking. I didn't feel like I was asking much, and I says it was a unrealistic, and you know, anyway, forgiveness is definitely also something to come into things. Like I don't know if they, I don't know them well enough, and I don't, you know, I fear future conflicts. I'm not wanting them, but I fear them, and I know that out of instinct, and proximity reasons. And unfortunately, it was already blocked before I could send this, and I'm not going to try and get it to them any other way, most likely. But it's first of all, it's hard to accept it. Second of all, um, I don't know, but maybe they've forgiven me since then. But if they did, you'd think that an apology would come. And honestly, I don't think I did anything all that bad that. But if they did and they happen to see this, I mean, thank you. you know, um, you know, um, do I maybe need to forgive them? But I don't know if it's I don't know what I don't know. But maybe that is an aspect of realizing that I don't think that whether not functional well. Realizing that I don't know. I don't know. I hope I'm forgiven, even though I didn't think I did anything wrong. But I'm not too sure I know how to forgive them in this circumstance. Yeah, it's. I don't know if. Yeah, too close for comfort. I don't really keep it loose. It's kind of a weird one, and I didn't really know the church that well. Herculaneum, there's an interesting phrase. Hasn't unfortunately posted. This doesn't always mean that the person isn't recently active. Hmm. But somebody on that post, my friend who passed away, is it's sometimes hard dealing with our own situations. Doesn't mean if I sound like I don't know really, like I have it figured out. I'm still figuring it out, and honestly, I would think most people are. No matter what you know your career is, or how how closely you work with this kind of stuff. There's always going to be situations where it's kind of like, you know, yeah, for any of us. Um, a young girl that golfs and has a piercing on both sides of her nose, but thankfully not septum. Yeah, that's a pretty common name. But just a couple of years ago, we had quite a young child, so that's a handful. I don't know if there's just one, but I liked his comment. That's for sure. Person underneath says, "Good luck with that." But I think that that could be like, well, some people don't make it easy. You know, I don't know what to think of this, Ray. She says, and it wasn't necessarily a comment to a specific comment, it was just kind of said, yes, making your own decisions before anyone can truly sway them otherwise is huge. I don't know. I think sometimes it's okay if they're swayed and you get a different kind of perspective. Um, but ultimately, you have to make your own decisions in life, you know. Um, sure, you can go by the suggestion of somebody else, but honestly, nobody else can do it for you or actually tell you entirely what to feel. Unfortunately, okay, there we go. Um, it's interesting though, learning about kind of somebody, you know, this is very interesting what I'm experiencing here. It could be a conflict. There's conflict of interest. I guess there's different types of conflicts, right? But you know, and aside from where she worked, I mean, and I often sat with her bunch of people, and they were kind of my bunch of people there. We did hang out a few times. I'm gonna say probably 6 or 7 times, and we certainly talked online a lot, and we never really got into a lot of disagreements. It was kind of, I think, really where the fallout, aside from that date, where the fallout kind of came in, was that I'd send a message. I wouldn't think that she would ignore me because we're cool with each other and that. And I'd send a message through, and so I'm looking at this side of this now, I think. And on a few occasions, it went unseen. But the last time I saw her in person, she certainly didn't ignore me. We were at a theater festival, kind of near the main stage. Like there was different venues, but there was also a main stage and like food trucks and this and that. And I remember exactly where too, where we were standing. And I'm intending this year to there's picnic tables around there actually, um, and to the side of the stage, and 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 um, kind of towards them. See, and I'm going to spend some time at that table and just kind of take things in. And think of her being there with me. She says, "Oh yeah, bud, we're gonna have lots of good times and make good memories, just like we just like we did in life and like we are in the afterlife." And I want people to understand that even though I do this and it's lovely what I hear and this and that, it's I'm still human. I grieve and it's still hard. But it's interesting to see that we have kind of conflicting views because this person, but a like can be so vague. Maybe she just didn't want to not like, but what she said previous to it kind of said the same thing, but kind of didn't. Maybe she just wanted to give her friend that commented a like because it's a nice thing to do. Let's go in later. I have to look at other things and devices. Not yeah. Um, your decisions you make are yours. Nobody else's. If they tell you otherwise, run. I would hope that she doesn't entirely feel like that because some people are really genuinely trying to help and are coming from a good place. But they also say something about most likely you'll be in for a pity party and somebody who can't admit and learn from their mistakes. The suck you dry mostly till you have nothing left to give. Like when I'm talking about my stresses, I mean I'm asking for empathy, not necessarily pity. Um, and it's an effort of learning from my mistakes. And I think it's almost always, you know, when others are involved, it's almost always a kind of a two-way thing, but sometimes more one side than the other side. When I think of the situation with the neighbor, It was windy out that day. I think it was still winter. I couldn't bike there. Couldn't walk there. Our transit system sucks. They're handy. They drive. Our other neighbors don't. That are closest. And that we know. It's kind of one of those examples where I feel like, well, doesn't hurt to ask, and you either get a yes or a no. But instead, I also got a unreasonable request when the proximity is close by and I have eyeballs. And I talked a bit more about this in the previous video. So, I mean, it's not always as simple as that. And then somebody I'm kind of familiar with, whoops, didn't want to like that. Hopefully they won't go with notifications. Somebody I'm kind of familiar with, um, it was so quick. Maybe I should just plug them in, it won't show up in the notifications. Because I don't entirely agree with them anyway. Interesting, the top of their page says, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. Somebody asked, did something go down? And last posted just after COVID started. At least that's what it looks like. I think this is a few years ago. Yeah, like I say. Cute. That dog really looks up to you, literally. Yeah, sometimes I can go 20 minutes without using it, sometimes less, or sometimes more. Um, this one says some people also just have mental illness that can't be cured. I learned to accept that and move on from it. I don't want somebody to come and me not be on screen, but I mean it's a human thing, and especially if you have a bit of a active um, need for it. I mean, I'll be a lot more comfortable if I do go, and nobody's here now, or nobody's been here for a little while. Um, but as far as uncurable mental health issues, I know I keep talking about how I want to talk about mental health a bit. I don't know. I think during a live you can go forward. Like if somebody came and nothing was happening there, they could possibly move the slider. I don't know. I can't remember if YouTube does that. Um, I'll be right back. I'm just going to think about that. But I think that there are things that some people can always do. But it's also sometimes genetic or predisposition. It's a lifelong thing. I'm not doing this on the phone. There is a movie that it showed me, but on YouTube actually, but it just while I'm remembering it. But where is my phone anyway? Oh, while I'm up, or I'm not up at the moment, but no, where is my phone? I had it a moment ago. So one there. Actually, this is the second most coldest one, probably. need to have both of them handy, to be honest. I still have an hour before my other call, but like I do need it handy. Okay, there's that phone, and where's the other one? Sorry. I thought I brought it over here. Maybe it's still out here on the counter. Okay. I probably should eat something, but if I don't, I'll have some afterwards. I don't know what I want to eat. So I don't know if that far away you can hear me with the AC on. And as much as I'm sitting here covering my arms like, oh, I'm chilly, it's kind of like the air is just too still. The air is just too still and stuffy without it on. And it is very hot out. Kind of went from winter to very, very, very short spring to like heat wave. While I was up there, though, I did think of something that I might want to do. Oh, before I forget, um, I just need to reschedule something. With somebody. I know it's not the most recent one. Maybe I'll just do quickly a new one. Um, yeah, I mean, I'd have to find a way to make it right, but other than that, that's right around when I'm, yeah, that. Let me just quickly check to see. Yeah, I just wanted to give this particular friend notice that I had to reschedule something so that they could um, adjust accordingly. And I'm also thinking I'm going to send her a message in the other spot, and she's active right now. And I'm just going to paste it in, and hopefully it'll let me type 3 lines. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. Just making sure that it sends in this tab, because sometimes it seems to depend on the tab for some reason. Now, okay, here we go. And it does not seem to be sending in this tab. I mean, I know sometimes, we all expect things to be super instant, but honestly, a lot of times they are. So it's not unreasonable to expect that. Um, I don't want it to show up 3 times though, and I'm hoping that it'll eventually send through or receiving. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Okay, and it's not noon hour yet, so she might not be able to tune in. But okay, coming back to the tab now. And one thing I did want to kind of do before I finish up, I don't have a lot of time before my next appointment, and it is talking, and it is kind of something that I have to lead the way with. I might just reschedule it, but I'm looking forward to it. I guess I'd have to see when could we rebook, and that could be possibly during the day. I mean, that's the availability I gave, and it sounds like maybe he works nights, so it kind of works. Um, and I did say, depending on where my head's at the time, I may suggest that we pick a different day. I try not to be that way, but it does happen. Um, I don't know. And then, so I'm trying to think of some examples of. I was thinking maybe I might touch on one or two more examples of things I personally went through, since nobody's here sharing any of theirs. Um, I also thought it might be handy and possibly easiest to think of someone I've recently thought of, and think of my role in a situation. But at the same time, again, that statement and feeling that a lot of times, again, not always or not always equal, but a lot of times, it's it's speak about equal, more so just as it looks balanced. A lot of times, it's a bit of both parties at fault. And if the other person is either not able to be reached anymore, or not willing to take the effort, or doesn't agree and see it that way, then and or then again, that's when you have to kind of do, like, I guess, the stuff. But it's also, like I say, definition of conflict. Like, I've been thinking about this a little bit, how I uh with the because I know that my friend has a legacy, and she does have a good head on her shoulders, that passed away. And I'm thinking about the situation with one of her relatives, and how they blocked me, and she says, "You know what, dude? That's on him, right? Don't put that on yourself. That's not fair to you, bud." And she says, "You know, it didn't hurt to at least ask." You know, she says, "I did think that it potentially could be a good thing to do. I know right now you're not even sure if you're going to be going on your trip, though. And then you have since talked with the neighbor, and you did the best that you could at that time. Same with the phone number thing. And with what you knew or didn't know. And it's not. I'm not drinking on YouTube. Well, water, but basically one of these has been out of the fridge a bit longer, and I'm just wanting to make this one a bit cooler. This one would be too cold. I do, I don't like really room temperature, but my teeth can't do super cold. um, but yeah, this movie just in case it reloads later and doesn't show it to me, but then maybe meant to be. 28. Miracle Dogs 2 TOO, and it's the year after I moved here. And there's somebody whose name is Leslie Ann, and then a last name that starts with WA, just like my mother's. I shouldn't toggle just in case, um, but it's that feeling of two, which makes me, and sort of the dog breed, being a mild trigger. Which, but just because I experience triggers because I am human doesn't mean I can't help you through yours. You know, um, but it's like, okay, but if that's what you got to do, then that's what I just blocked a certain individual. Then I'm not mad. I mean, I just don't want you to blame yourself, and I don't want you to think that my loved ones hate you. Um, because I have a very loving family, and sure, I was their relative, but like they don't go out of their way to dislike people. And I want to let you know that I don't think you've necessarily done anything wrong. And sure, that's maybe what I want to hear, but I don't know some of them well enough to know if they hold grudges on people often, and I try not to. I also don't, I could tell when it's me and when it's spirit, and that is her spirit saying that, I feel. And it's kind of like, you know, um, it's the truth. I also don't know what's going on with this Jackie person. I know because I feel like I heard in my head that it said, but I haven't found a video yet. I looked at a few different places, that she said that she just couldn't make new connections right now. But let's maybe wrap this up with this one. But I'm trying to think: is there a situation where I think of Jordan? No, I mean he was just uptight and a jerk and didn't seem to really truly understand Asperger's. And he was kind of selfish, and then he was very cool towards me. And I can't believe I remember what I said, and it made us both feel bad. I said to Glenn, he acted as if it wasn't even there, and it wasn't even a person. He said, "Yeah, I agree. He was acting a little odd, but he doesn't see it. So, like he approached Glenn and with all hunky dory. Unfortunately, the other Brian is a lot nicer, but does some unkosher performances and stuff. And otherwise, I'd love to be involved with them. They've also not found a way for him to be the most recent productions, and I'm sure musically or backstage or something they could have. I mean, yeah, maybe he didn't strongly ask, but still. So, have you been? Again, it's not a have you. You likely have. Is there something that you're going through with somebody, or have recently went through, or are worried about, and you left, or whatever? But that's the main question I'm posing here. I mean, thoughts to any of this in kindness are welcome, of course. But man, that was a brief viewer, as opposed to a box viewer. Just kidding. But I'm gonna wrap up and give myself about 15 minutes, I think, before my meeting. And it's exactly how I said it. I'd see where my head, where my head was at. If I was kind of calm and not, I mean, I kind of do want to talk a bit more about this because I actually didn't really say a whole lot. Yeah, go with the flow. There's a facilitator. I didn't like my worker said I was trying to mind read to see outcomes. Yet she said it's normal to be anxious sometimes. I mean, she took the time with her difficulties that she's going through right now to write that. I really feel like I should say something. But back to my friend Ray, though. And I mean, we're kind of going with possibly near death, and then, but living in a different way, right? This is a shorter post. I don't think I did like it recently, and it's not recent. And um, so we have two viewers, and aside from and they both left. Weird. Anyway, sorry. I don't know. I'm working on not focusing on it as much, but and if they came a little bit later, I would have been in the thralls of reading this post or drinking water and try not to spill it on the laptop. I really should do it from over there, but I worried I wouldn't be able to be heard with the AC running. But my knees are a little bit sore right now, and I have this on a pillow on my lap, and I don't know if it's because of I'm not able to move around as much when it's or as I don't know. Like it almost already feels better, but I was a little bit worried that I would. But it always does at the second dot. That I'm pretty sure this is what I did last night, and I've watched back some of it, and I could hear myself. So it's not just about me hearing myself. That means that other people can hear as well, and I'd really like to hear your thoughts again. Kind of kindness and positivity, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. So, and I'm also looking at some of these old messages, and it hadn't even really occurred to me. When I about the way I looked at the page a little bit, but it hadn't really even occurred to me that maybe I might want to do that. Um, and again, it's her legacy, and it can help any of us, perhaps. So I'm curious your thoughts on this. She says, and the viewer left. Whatever. I firmly believe that respect is a lot more important and a lot greater than popularity. And she has that in quotes with a space between that and the next part. I don't know if she's quoting somebody. If so, she should have given him credit. I'd give credit to her, but out of respect, part of me doesn't see the issue, but part of me thinks out of respect, you know, I mean, we're this far in, nobody's currently watching. I don't know if anybody would jump to this point or make it to this point or whatever. But and I don't. Speaking of respect, I don't. I mean, and she's like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, same with me getting my those numbers. She kind of like me too, but she does. I feel like she's kind of telling me again that be realize though that she may not physically and mentally have the capacity for connection right now. This this yeah, one person I'm thinking of because of her health primarily. Um, but she says, yes, everyone deserves respect. We're all human. That's a neat point, you know. Although I think and I just read this a little bit before I read it out loud. But and if I remember correctly, or at least I feel like she probably would also say, just because you're human, though. But sometimes and I mean, not about me. I'd be honest with that if it was the case. But I did notice that sometimes she would kind of, feel like somebody had done something stupid or, well, obviously, she realizes that some people are idiots or just not very caring and such. And obviously, not only did she somewhat struggle to understand that, perhaps, and I understand that, but she tried to make it different, you know, tried to with or without the knowledge of realizing she'd pass away someday, and with her condition, possibly young, possibly not. It's just a good way to go about life. Sometimes I don't always believe the idea of. I think what she's maybe quoting is just people that say these kind of things in general, and I don't know if I've heard that respect is more important and a lot greater than popularity. I mean, I kind of agree. I don't always believe the idea of if you treat others with respect, they'll respect you. You can respect everyone your whole life, but you may still have haters. Just knowing that should be a reason not to let it get to you. And I feel her spirit saying to me that haters should stay in their corner and hate from a distance and better yet, if somebody doesn't like somebody, she's saying, and I'm agreeing, and I can tell that it's her saying it to my telepathy. She's saying, why don't they just avoid them? But at the same time, she's also kind of saying, but then why not give them a chance? Give people a chance to prove you wrong, to be likable. She says, and to even make mistakes and learn from them. But like I can think of some situations, like it's not necessarily a mistake to not want necessarily you know toxic people around. But at the same time, you know, but yeah, she's just saying. So aside from the title, anything that comes to mind that you've been through or whatever, or yeah. Anywho, I'm just what maybe I should have done is said why I'm kind of slowed down for a moment there. I am going to wrap this up soon, but it was because I am. I'm really in my own head right now, but also in my own head is telepathic messages from my friend, and so I feel like so I feel like I'm trying to process that, and it's been a bit of an active morning. I did a video, then I had a meeting, and now I'm doing this video, and I'm tired. But yeah, she is pretty much just saying that, Um, in other words, there's nothing, you can't stop somebody from disliking or being rude. Although she says, I'll say again, or do you want to say it in your own way now? Yeah, if you dislike somebody, look on past, but try not to dislike them. I said, yeah, bro, well said. um, but, and I don't think she should have said may. You will still have haters, essentially, unavoidable. Says, yeah, you just got to be you and be you and two outfits and there was two in this one. Just hope that you're be yourself. Hope that you're liked, but also be willing to grow and learn. And the viewer left like, screw that shit. I'm big enough. No, just kidding. um, hey, and I'm not saying that you do that and everyone will be perfect towards you. I mean, they have to be willing as well. And for whatever reason, a lot of people aren't. And I think they should ask themselves why not, mostly. he was also always about trying to see the bright side and things. What do you think about vegans or non-vegans eating vegan food or vegetarian food? Well, I mean, everybody eats vegetables, not everybody, but stealing it from the ones that only would. Um, okay, it's getting closer and closer to my point, but this is 10 minutes fast. But I kind of want to find one more post. February? That's winter still here anyway. I just gotta laugh at this one, and it makes me think about. And apparently, I back then I did. Well, I liked it. 2019. You may have been on your flyer then. This is just an interesting post. That's all I got to say about it. Whenever I'm driving in my car in this weather and I see somebody riding a bike, I make it a point to roll down my window and yell, "Woo! Good job, buddy!" Because that's a whole other level of dedication. I'd rather walk or bus or walk. Okay, in the winter to avoid the wind hitting my face. Well, if you're walking, I hate to break it to you, Ray, but the wind's probably hitting your face unless you're wearing a scarf. Um, and that at that force and avoid the workout portion, and that will make you feel like you want to die because the wind and the traction with the bike on the snow. Good job to those that can do this straight up. There was somebody there for a moment as I was reading that. And then somebody said, if I were riding a bike, especially in winter, someone shouting, "Woo, go, buddy," from the comfort of a climate controlled rolling steel box window at me would come across as incredibly condescending, and I'd probably try to throw something at you. And she laughed. But I'm going to guess it's probably the last part because she wouldn't want to be condescending. She says, you do what you got to do. Um, so I have to wrap up soon. I can go for another 10 or 15 minutes. If the title makes you think of something you'd like to share in the comments, do feel free to. In the meantime, I'm actually finding myself doing something kind of interesting in this video where I am looking at old posts of a friend that's passed away and the viewer left. Like, I only care about new posts. Well, this is a new post. Um, this post, I think it's important to hear the full one. I'm still haven't said the name, but I think it's important to hear the full thing because the first part of it comes across a certain way. I'm not even sure if I want to read it. I don't entirely agree that nobody knows what the right thing means. I think that there are some obvious things in that area. which says, I will do what I want because everybody's version of correct is different. I never saw her do finger quotes a lot, but she seems to do them a lot in her writing, and I don't remember that, but maybe I didn't see a lot of her posts. Like this one, I've never reacted to in the past. I'm a good person with good morals, so let me do that. I like that. So we have somebody here, and I just want to explain what I'm doing here. I do have to wrap this up soon. I do have a phone call, and they left. Well, just say it, but no, I feel like it. For somebody who may just be coming in for the first time, it does need a bit of an explanation. I'll be right back. That's the explanation. I might even start a series doing this. I know I've had ideas for series before, and they don't always take off. But this is a very interesting one. It's in a memes group, and she says, "I love how active this page is and how awesome it is. But I remember when this group was a little newer, and we were saying, feel free to post anything rather than just memes." Um, a video, a picture of her cat, talk about your feelings, which is weird because she kind of encourages the second one then, which is fine. And also that she has to define what memes are. But that being said, I'm not sure if I knew that they were considered videos. I thought those were like little shorts or videos. And this is from a few years ago as well. But it says, and I don't know, this is special and cathartic for me, but again, it's part of keeping her, and a lot of people I've lost were before social media got big, or they didn't really use it much. But maybe, I'm thinking of Chris, for instance, both of them. Um, I could do a little bit of this. Who else? I mean, like my grandparents and my dad, and my dad's parents, they weren't on here, on social media, really. Maybe it would be mostly coffee memes. um, I don't think it'd be rest to try and figure out lunch and eat it before my phone call that I'm expecting. Otherwise, I couldn't yet have coffee. I'm glad Dr. McGuthers realized I double booked. So, aside from the title, feel free to weigh in on it. I am looking at. Never mind. Okay, and anybody who's watched this far or has gathered this knows. So, um, basically, I'm encouraging you to comment on this post with something like that. For my thing, I'm just talking. I'm just talking. How are you guys? So that's very interesting to me. And I didn't even read it that way the first time. That just shows her heart. Like, a lot of people are nice, loving people, and part of me wonders if maybe I'm going to turn off the AC. I just can't seem to warm up, and I think it's cooled off plenty and give it a bit of rest. There were other reasons why she was trying, but at the same time, knowing her as I do, and as I am, trying to share with y'all, I don't really. I mean, she was just like that. It was just who she was, and I'm obviously not faulting that. Of course, it did mean that she could be a little naive or possibly taken advantage of sometimes, unfortunately. But putting on lotion. Um, but it's very interesting how she specifically says, "How are you guys?" Like, not only do I hear in that focus on the positive instead of "How aren't you," but it also really seems to be strongly saying that. And it'd be interesting to know if somebody in this group on this post, is someone who she really stayed in contact with and what they think to know that she passed. Would they remember her post from kind of a few months into the pandemic? But she really cares. Are you doing well physically or mentally during these times? So, like you say, the pandemic. Had tons of stressful bad days. Missing work for 2 weeks because of being, yeah. Although I'm surprised she didn't miss it for longer in the pandemic, but it was new then, you know. Unfolding gradually in that. I really should give myself a bit of a rest, but I totally don't mind him doing some of the talking too. But I have to initiate the conversations. Anyway, I think I will put the fan on though. I'm happy to be so thankful to Zod. This is interesting to read this after she passed away, but you know what? I do believe she's in a healthy state again. So there is that. And I don't know the healing that somebody that's briefly here might be one of her relatives that can only watch for a little while, or maybe not be. But I can only hope that and what I am putting into the videos is impacting somebody positively. But she says so to still be healthy. So she was doing pretty good then, I guess. And she would have been late 20s. Maybe that's why she's mid 20s. But I'm just so thankful. I still have all the lovely people I have in my life. Peace and love all around. So I didn't get very much last time. Feel free to speak about your stresses or negative times too if you're comfortable to. Don't be afraid to vent. Just post whatever you want, abiding by rules, of course. AKA no racism or personal attacks on anyone in here, etc. Somebody said that annoyed at myself for starting too late and fixing myself but now I seem to be on the right road. She said, "Awesome. It's never too late to fix yourself. I myself have lots to work on still." This is just a funny comment that somebody put. And it's interesting, actually. I'm just noticing something a little bit more with that. Unfortunately, I've never been a fan. But if that's them in the picture and they go by Connor, they're non binary. I've recently been told I have a good nose for high nostril piercings. That means I have a big nose. I'm listening to edgy music today, but I could be biased into liking it, whatever the heck that means. Because I'm a typical girl in the worst ways, and the guy is hot. But that being said, it's interesting if she is non-binary to say that she's a typical girl in the worst way. She doesn't like being a girl. That's such a nice picture. I almost want to share it. I'd not noticed it before. Do I just zoom in and just show her? That isn't really nice to him. That he's important to her. When was this? Because it seems to mix them up a little bit. Like this is 2023. But she lived into 2025. Again, not big about the red hair, girl. So that's fine. It's not your hair. But I like that color a bit better. It seems to be the same day, but look darker. It must be the lighting. She even wished Merry Christmas to the strangers and haters. I'd be very surprised if she had any. I mean, I guess, like she says, I think she said in that post that I mentioned, we all do. I feel like she's actually giving me a bit of advice about the neighbor thing. She says, you know what? Live my life, live the life you want, including, being comfortable, you know, in your yard. And she says, unless there's further issues, don't worry about it, bud. You're just kind of working yourself up and getting all stressed out. I know you don't want conflict. You're not that way. But she says, until there's further issues, there's what happened has happened. She says, I know that it's hard, but hopefully this helps. Yeah, more than it did with the meeting with it, but she listened to these and tried to be there. And remember, you're not the problem. You didn't necessarily do anything wrong, and I'm sorry that you. She actually says that she's sorry I've been made to feel that, but no, I haven't really. I don't think I have either, for the most part. But I do feel like you know it precipitated something that was unpleasant, or that But she says, but it was just small, and it's yes, it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have happened the way it happened. But she said also, it also doesn't need to be more than that. And again, don't don't try and don't be hard on yourself about it. Is what she's saying to me. And maybe this will resonate with somebody else's, you know, experience, similar otherwise. Just enjoy your garden, enjoy the summer, enjoy your life while you have it, because it's so great that it's so cool, bud. She says that I can communicate with you in this way, but she says she has a lot of loved ones that she can't, and she's lost that. And she says, as you will remember here in heaven, we feel things, but we don't feel things. But yet the messages can be so powerful. It's true, but we don't feel things in the same to the same strength, and we are able to kind of see things a little bit differently than most humans do in some circumstances. Um, you know, because living life is hard sometimes. She says, and and I understand that. She says, but um, and the thought was kind of lost, but yeah, basically essentially saying that I don't know. There actually might be a bit of a session at the end of this, and I don't know if I should. If I did restart it, it would only be like 10 minutes in, and I might see that, but he might not see this one completely. So I might keep rolling just because that could be interesting to include that, and the person would be anonymous. But if I'm talking about where's my head at before he calls, this is where it's at. But yeah, basically, she's just saying, you and your ADHD and your active mind. Just kidding, bud, she says. But she says, yeah, she does miss her loved ones. Of course she does. And she doesn't have them in her life like she did then. And I'm actually remembering how, like, the other person in the home here, not that we aren't usually kind of loving towards each other, but I feel like since her passing, I kind of feel like, even though sometimes there's moments that the and then go back to her meme page, that I think I got the live chat to show. Even though sometimes there's moments that we're doing that. We're enjoying each other and trying to enjoy life. She says, I'm really happy to see it, bud. I'm so happy. She says. She says, you deserve it. Most of us do, she says. Some of her pets, she knew the exact date and year of their birthday. Others, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, his is coming up in. Dad's is on the 17th, but our dog's is right around Glenn's, I believe. She's like, other times I'm not sure if she's correct on the month or even the year. Someone named Sparrow? What's up with that? It's like, yeah, I used to joke, a little bird told me. That's a lovely picture of her. Kind of interesting position of her body, but it really is a lovely picture of her. A little bit blurry, but not bad. I'm surprised I haven't seen more posts about that. 2018, I knew her. I would have known what kind of car she had, but I don't recognize that for whatever reason. I don't think it used to start as late as 10. Well, that's what it says, 10 to 2. It was close by. It was a bit of a night owl then, but I don't think so. Talking about meeting significant others online. I am going to be interrupted. Okay, there was somebody briefly there. Yes, I always think they get too small, even though they always get that small at some point, and it doesn't always take them at one go, but sometimes it does. Then it's kind of like I'm a little bit worried to let them have them. So I'm going to soon, please hear this out. I'm going to soon be interrupted by a call, but something very interesting might transpire in the beginning of it that I don't mind sharing. And I'm not going to say who the person is, and they go. So it'd be very interesting to see, because I don't do this a lot, but to see how accurate I could be for somebody else. When I have done it for other people, whether it's been spontaneous or planned, that I was going to do a session with them. Yeah, but I feel it strongly and more often, but not super often, but lately kind of with my own loved ones. I'll be right back. So this is an interesting post I just found. It's at some concert. I don't. All I'm hearing is the lyric "You're so damn beautiful," and it's a black guy. I don't know who it is, but she said that, and yeah, I guess she liked the loud crowds and this and that. But she said it was the first part was in bold and kind of bold because it said, "What a great concert" or whatever. I was so close, I got to hold his ... Was pretty starstruck actually. What a great concert. Okay, was pretty starstruck actually. What a great concert. I was so up close, I got to hold his ... And then it starts that again for some reason. When you click it, it just says it once and says hand smiley face. And I feel like she was. The guy's like, yeah. I can recognize her kind of scream, I guess. I know that sounds weird, but I mean, from when she used to cheer us on when we sang in that. No, she forgot her stresses and troubles and felt like a slightly different person, and it gave her a perspective on how she's been handling things, her struggles. Spent over 100. Go to one. Spend the 50 to $100. So worth it. I live to see the magic of live music. So Veronica, what you did work. I guess it's just gonna be really on the dot. Like this device is just becoming new now. Anyone else on this level of remembering all the lyrics to a song you hadn't heard in years? Just read an article about a man sentenced to 1,503 years in prison. What? She says, why not just sentence them for life at that point? It's interesting how some of these I just liked and didn't comment because, like I say, I find comments more specific and more conversational. But maybe I was distracted or busier than. Where's my damn phone call? It's actually 5 after by this device, but maybe it's just running late. Maybe see my video. I've got a lot there. I have no other way of reaching him. We both seem to really enjoy the first call we had with each other, which has been the only one so far. I don't necessarily want to report him, but I kind of do want to know what's up. So if he doesn't call in a few minutes, I'm going to have to email the place and say what's up. I mean, I made some progress with some things, so it is kind of just a spiritual thing. So, but I do want to know what's up. I mean, we've been doing it for 3 or 4 months, and you know, it's very interesting actually what's transpiring because of that, and I don't know what to think of it. And I just came from upstairs, and I hadn't been thinking of this then. It would be a great way to welcome in a viewer as someone just tuned in. I was thinking of playing the song "What's Up." Do you like that song? Would you like me to? I feel like some people may feel like they hear it too often, especially if they go to things like karaoke and the person left. So I'll take that as a no. It's a great right here. Yes, or maybe her health, or maybe her other distractions, or maybe she wanted to take some time to think and figured she'd get back to me eventually. You know, She's only lived here for 24 years, and she's never 9 years ago. Well, that would be all of her life then. Actually, I'm confused. Maybe she did the math wrong because I don't think that equals the age she passed. This person's literally allergic to summer. I think I might experience some of that, but also I don't like snow. I just need it perfect, you know. I like, and of course, some people will think that I like this perspective. I don't have a car, so I can't really easily experience it. But does anyone else feel like driving equals clarity? Kind of therapeutic in a way, essentially? Stay happy, stay peaceful. And if you're someone that doesn't or can't at the moment, I'm sending positive vibes your way right now. I like that. Doesn't sound familiar, but again, it's a number of years ago. That's an interesting question. Again, though, in the social media age, sometimes you post something quickly, and like it's a little bit different in a video. So not necessarily always knowing what's going to come up, but in a post, and basically without thinking a bit further first. Do men actually have less emotion than women, or are they just better at hiding it? Asking for a friend. Well, they're better at hiding it, and they feel like they should, but they're human. This picture of her. I don't think this is animals. No, animals only has one L. It's weird that she's saying she's feeling optimistic for no real reason. I'm sure that there are reasons, even if you have to kind of stop for a moment and say, yeah, life's pretty good, most for the most part. Love looking at FB memories. Reminds me of the days where we'd all get along. We'd bake cakes with rainbows and smiles, and people would eat and be happy. And if somebody recognizes those words, they do. Doesn't mean somebody else knows who posted it. You are not contemplating burning the whole place down just because you saw a spider, right? almost like tempted to say, "What's the last message you got from someone, a loved one that passed away, recent or not?" Talk about it. Talk about deep. But yeah, she had celebrity crush. She said never try to do it. But if I could, that kind of This is an interesting quote by Jim Carrey. You can fail at what you don't want, so why not take a chance on doing what you love? That's deep. I'm struggling to process that right now. First of all, this is a very specific age that she says. She's like, listening to Shawn Mendes screaming like a schoolgirl about how cute his music is. Sure, you're talking about his music. Sorry, not sorry. Anyone else just find him adorable? And if you're feeling lonely, this is maybe something you can do is look at old friends' posts. And even if they passed away, you can still have a few laughs about the post. So I don't know if I should do. I almost want to do some music. It doesn't look like my call's happening. Maybe they're under the weather. But then I should have found out from him or somebody. We had a very pleasant first call. I'm not sure if maybe it's more 12:30, um, which is in 15 minutes. If it is, so again, it's only 15 minutes to do it, and I don't know. And if he's homesick, you might spend that much time watching. Um, but this is getting a little bit long, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. The only song I know by them, I believe, I don't know if Mr. Brightside is one of their songs, but I believe Seven Nation Army might be. Even though the regulars that were there, she was always happy to hear new people sing, meet new people. And what did I just click there? And yeah, um, Jackson Gillies overcomes health issues to follow his dreams. He says, we all can do that. I kind of lived my dream. Did I have many others I didn't get to live? She says, sure. But I, I'm happy to have lived the life that I lived and done the things that I did, made the efforts that I made, had the connections that I had, including you, but she says, and now I'm sitting pretty in heaven. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up in just a moment here. I can't stop scrolling posts. And somebody just tuned in. Did just tune in. So aside from the title, which we can totally get back to, I got a little bit sidetracked by looking at. Never mind. Death of a Bachelor. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Bye for now.